I'm going to demonstrate how to create a few charts in Google Sheets. And I will say that this is one area in particular that I think Excel is probably superior in terms of the variety of charts that you can create and the control that you have over the way they look. But Google Sheets is pretty good. And so we're going to just create a few charts here. So I've made a copy of the worked example 2.6 charts worksheet. And I'm just going to do a couple calculations here. I'm going to calculate the total. This is petting zoo data. So I'm going to over 4 quarters of the year. So I'm just going to calculate the totals for the year here for all of my different types of animals. Fill that down the column. One thing that you can do, a nice little shortcut if you want to calculate a sum of a column or a row, is you can select the data that you want to sum, and if you click on the sum tool, just the sigma here, and click sum, it will automatically put the sum in the next cell below that range of cells that you've selected, so that can be kind of handy. So I'm going to copy those across the column. All right, so we're going to create several charts. So the first thing that I would like to do is I would like to create a chart that shows the petting zoo visits for all the animals over all 4 quarters. So I'm going to select all of this data. So there are 2 things to keep in mind when you're creating a chart. One is to selecting the right data, which can be a little bit tricky. And then the other piece is to select the right kind of chart for what you want to show. So I'm going to select, starting up here in this blank cell here, I'm going to select all of the data for all of the animals for all 4 quarters. And then I'm just going to go over here and click on the Insert Chart tool. And that should bring up a dialog box that will let me choose the kind of chart that I would like. So this is showing me the total visits for arranged by dogs, cats, reptiles, and birds. And this is a what's called a column chart. And I think that's probably okay for what we want to show here. We want to be able to compare the different animals for the different quarters, but maybe I want to rearrange it. So for example, if I would like to organize the data by quarters and then have my legend over here represent the different types of animals, I can do that. So there are some things that you can do to customize or modify your chart. If I click over here on the customization, this header here, first quarter, second quarter, that's not very meaningful, so I can just select that data in the dialog box and I can change it to petting zoo annual visits if I want, and I can modify that text if I want to change the color and the size and the style and so forth. I can do that. If I want to, I can scroll down here and there's some other things that we can do. We can reverse the data. So if we want 4th quarter to appear first, which doesn't make a lot of sense for quarters, but if we want to rearrange our data, we can do that. We can add labels to our X and Y axes if we want to. So we can put down here, like on the horizontal axis, we could say quarters, although we probably don't need a label for that. But a label here along the Y axis makes more sense. So maybe I would like to change the left vertical axis so that it says maybe number of visitors. And again, I can change the style and the size and so forth. Maybe I want to make that bold, so I can adjust that if I want to. I can change the grid lines if I want, the color and the size, but I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. Although I might want to change the colors of my bars. But even after, so now I'm going to click Insert. Even after I've inserted a chart, which I'm going to move out of the way of my data here, I can still continue editing it or modify it if I want to. So for example, if I decide that I want the bars for dogs to be a different color, I don't want them to be blue, maybe I want them to be, I don't know what color. Maybe I want them to be brown. I can do that. Maybe I want the bars for the cats to be a different color. So we can do that if we want to. Can change them. Maybe I want those to be gold. And then maybe I want the bars for the reptiles to be green. And I want the bars for the birds to be maybe purple or something like that. So you can modify your chart, modify the colors, even after you've inserted it into your spreadsheet. So that's an example of a column chart.